peacetime, while it's easy to articulate, you take kids out of school, teach them the Bible, bring them back, it is anything but easy to actually implement. Because you basically have to start a private school. You gotta find a facility and maybe transportation and insurance and technology and fundraising, the list goes on. And that in fact became my answer to the question, why hasn't this spread in 70 years? Because of the many barriers to entry. I kind of think about it like a big map. So picture a big Lord of the Rings style old map, and on one corner of the map you have what we'll call typical land. This is where most communities are, where the Bible has been removed from the public school day, and students don't have access to Bible education during school hours. However, on the other side of the map, the other corner, in 1952, a new land was discovered, a tropical paradise that we will call Bible education land, where students can receive Bible education during school hours. The only problem is that these lands are separated by a vast wilderness, and those are the barriers to entry. You have the policies, everything regarding legality and HR and curriculum and safety and all the things you need to figure out. You have school relations, how are you going to connect with the school and get school approval and coordinate the details and the schedule. You have all the logistics, how are you going to coordinate the volunteers and manage the schedule and organize all those details. You have fundraising. Where are you going to find the dollars to hire the teachers, to get the materials and the facility, maybe even a bus to get the kids there. And then of course you have marketing. You need to enroll students, and so how are you going to engage with families, many of whom are not connected to local churches? So theoretically, at any point over the last 70 years, a community could metaphorically strap on a backpack and make their way through the wilderness to Bible education land. However, there's bears in that forest, and you could get eaten, and if you make it to Bible education land, you'd have to pitch a tent and forage for food. But if at any point the leader, the explorer, can't do it, then the whole thing kind of falls apart. And we started thinking, but what if somebody could tame the wilderness? What if we could cut a path through the wilderness? In fact, build an 8-lane superhighway, and on the other side, in Bible education land, build out the infrastructure, the water tower, the electric company, the roads, and so that sure, communities would still need to buy a car, but there'd be a smooth path for them to get there. And on the other side, in Bible education land, yeah, they need to buy a home, but the infrastructure's there. Is it possible, if we could do this, that it would trigger a mass migration from typical land to Bible education land? And it was that idea that really gave way to the concept of LifeWise Academy. And it really crystallized in my mind on the drive home from that building dedication ceremony where I spoke in Van Wert. I had a 2-hour drive home, and driving back, my mind was just racing, and it was like this idea, this vision just popped into my head, fully formed. Imagine, in Van Wert, 95% of the students are receiving Bible education during school hours. What if other communities saw the same thing? In Van Wert, the school was seeing the results and the community was engaged. What if you saw the same thing play out coast to coast? And what if you could put it all together into a usable, repeatable, plug-and-play program that any community could implement without having to reinvent the wheel? The idea was so big, it was uncertain, but it was so clear. And that was over 5 years ago, and now I'm the founder and CEO of LifeWise Academy, and it's happening.